What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com, FightfulWrestling.com, here with a name you know, Mr. Joe Hendry of Ring of Honor. We got plenty of stuff to talk to. Joe, how you doing?
Sounds good. I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got plenty going on, even in these wild times. I've seen videos of yours pop up everywhere, especially the Oasis video. But last year you signed with Ring of Honor. You got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, we cover MMA and boxing on this site as well, and that's definitely something I want to get into as well. But
Sure.
first and foremost, how have you been with this downtime?
I'd say it's been just a mixed bag of emotions. First of all, it's been awesome to be this well taken care of. Like, I really, I wish more people knew how well Ring of Honor was looking after us. Really, all they're asking from the talent is be safe, be healthy, rest, recuperate, and be creative. So when I was on the indies, it's like if something like this happened, I'd be really stressing about where the next meal's coming from. But Ring of Honor are taking, they're paying us as normal. They're taking care of us. So I now don't need to worry about where the next meal's coming from. So I can focus on being creative and entertaining people during this downtime. So they've been super helpful with that process. It's been, I think the key for me has just been trying to find meaning within, the four walls of this house, this room. And I've been trying my best to do that by entertaining people. That's kind of how I've been keeping myself sane. But then again, on the other hand, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, woe is me, when there's way worse things going on right now. And I think that's what this has done, is reminded us that, we all, yourself, me, like anyone in the business in any capacity, we all love what we do, and we're fortunate to get to live our dreams. But there are some things that are more important than us doing our dreams, and that is people's health and safety. So, it's been an unprecedented time.
What you had mentioned is a common talking point when I talk to people in Ring of Honor, either on or off the record, is how well they're being taken care of. Impact doing really good as well. New Japan doing really good. It's very refreshing to see this out of companies that they're like, hey, listen, we know that there's crazy circumstances going on. We know that this is your line of work. This is your lifeblood, and they're taking care of you guys. And a lot of the negative press that the term independent contractor gets, this seems to be one of those situations where it's working out pretty well for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's. I think the Ring of Honor have gone above and beyond any expectations anyone would have had about how a company might conduct themselves in this situation, and they've been so not only supportive, but the communication's been great as well. There at no point were we going, what's going to happen? We were told very clearly that safety was the priority. And the thing I love about Ring of Honor as well is we have an opportunity to anonymously give feedback. So, there's not a pressure for us to go, oh, we're ready to come back to work. Or we're not in a situation where we feel we have to say that. We have an anonymous channel that we can give feedback through there as well. So they not only are we being taken care of, but talent can actually give honest feedback without any kind of fear of repercussion or anything like that. So I think it's pretty awesome that they want to know how the talent really feel.
It's funny you mentioned that. I talked to PJ Black, I think maybe a month and a half ago, and he talked about like a meeting, and I don't know if it happened before or after you got there, but where Ring of Honor brought a lot of people in, and they're like, hey, we want to hear what you want. He says they've implemented a ton of that.
Yeah, I was there, and it was in Baltimore, and they literally had like this kind of little stand at the front of the room, and they were like, anybody on the roster that wants to speak to the entire room, to the entire company, will have the opportunity to do so right now. And like I say, I can tell you firsthand, that how awesome they've been with listening to suggestions. Like for example, I'd worked with a guy called Dave Hodgson who does the kind of YouTube stuff at Ring of Honor. And I'd worked with him previously. We got on great, and he kind of got what I did. And, he was kind of in between projects, and I had the opportunity to say to management, I think this person would do a great job here. And, who am I? I'm a member of the roster. They wouldn't need to listen to me on anything like that. But now he's here and he's doing an awesome job, and it's like it's
He's
not only
revitalized that channel completely.
yeah, and it's great for everyone, right? Yeah. It's great for Ring of Honor. It's great for Dave to have this opportunity, and it's awesome for me because I feel totally valued and respected. And now he's kind of proved the suggestion right, which is awesome. And obviously, I'm just like kind of we all make suggestions. Sure. I'm not taking credit for that in any way. I'm just giving an example in that I was allowed to speak freely to management on that, and it's like that's the kind of structure that we have. We know the structure that's in place, but if I have an idea that I want to pitch to Greg or Marty or whoever it is in management, I have the ability to do that, and there's nothing in between that. I can go straight to that person.
Yeah, when I talk to people within Ring of Honor, even those high up, I think it was around August, September of last year, they were like, okay, what we see your criticisms. What's one thing you think we need to improve on? And I was like, the YouTube channel. You all have so much footage. You'll have so many interesting people. And now you see like the people that you mentioned that have implemented all this awesome stuff there.
It just makes me so passionate, because usually like wrestling's a very selfish business, right? Mm-hmm. And you have to be. It's about pushing your own brand. But when you know that your input is valued, it just makes you, it gives you some, and when I say the word ownership, I don't mean literal ownership, but just as a talent, you feel a part of that family. You take ownership in everything that happens. You take pride in everything that happens as a member of that team. So it pushes you even more to, I think there's a real team environment. I don't know that I've quite experienced anything like this in wrestling, to be honest.
And specifically with the YouTube channel, because of the situations we're in, I know that you've personally been involved in things like the showdown with Amy Rose, which I thought was very funny, like a beer drinking contest, things that probably wouldn't have happened, at least in that manner, if not for this situation. And you're seeing the personality shine through a lot in these.
We've got a donut eating contest that's going up this afternoon as well. So we had to work our way through 12 Krispy Kreme glazed donuts, which sounds easy, but try taking them out in under 5 minutes. It's tough, man. It's tough. That messed me up for a day. But no, you're right. It's awesome because look, we're in a situation where we have to make the best of what we've got. But my thing in life, in any situation, is to try and take a negative and turn it into a positive, and that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to double down on everything I'm doing during this period of time, and actually I've been reading a lot during this time, and I read a great book called Rework that really taught me that, I had this thing where I was like, people were calling me the Weird Al Yankovic of wrestling, right? And I had this thing where it annoyed me, and I was like trying to, almost steer away from it. And reading that book taught me to steer into it. And so during this period of time, I've really just been trying to give the fans what they want. And that's, like you say, I've had it was actually, I did a podcast with there's a wrestler over here, you probably know, Grado, him, and there's a guy who does a podcast with called Rab Florence, and he's a TV writer and performer in Scotland. He's really well known here, and we were doing a podcast with him, and he said, it was about the time when you went viral that I first met you and did it. And when he said that, I just, the penny dropped, and I was like, he just said the time you went viral, and it made me realize I hadn't had viral videos in years that I'd done, back in 2016, I was getting, these crazy hits on these videos, and I thought, I need to prove it to myself, the fans, and the company that I can do that again. Mm-hmm. And now, like you said, the Oasis one has got more views than anything I'd ever done. Like, it's who knows what it's on now, but the last time I checked, it was well past 5 million across all the channels. So I feel like I've really achieved something, and I love seeing the comments of people going, oh, I look forward to these made my day and stuff like that. The issue I've got is I'm a workaholic, and I'm not very good at taking a break. And what happens, I think, with people, especially during this crisis, is people almost feel guilty for not being there in person.
I was about to ask you about that. Yeah. Like, do you feel guilty when you're not doing something?
Yes.
Like something's wrong?
Yeah, so you tend to work way harder. But what you need to be careful of, and I need to follow my own advice, is that if you don't take a second to chill and, watch some TV and consume some pop culture, you're not going to have perspective, and your gut instinct is not going to be there, and your stuff is going to suffer. So instead of taking a break after the Oasis one, I rushed out another video. But then I was like, oh, should this be the title? Should that be the title? What should the tags be? And I went back and forth and changed them, and I didn't get over as much. Not even close. because I wasn't laser focused. I didn't have that perspective. So I'm going to take a break for a week, I think, from doing them, and I'm going to come back strong.
Yeah, I've noticed, especially with the Oasis one, that's something almost everybody can relate to. I have a friend in New Zealand who, for weeks, only talked about how much he wanted to get McDonald's. Like, that's it. So when I saw this and it popped up and we're posting it in a news article, I'm sending it to her too. And I'm sure she's sending it to somebody that she knows. And then you've got ones that are like the Outcast cover of
Miss Baskin.
Miss Baskin, there you go.
Miss Jackson.
And it's like these are things that have transcended. And admittedly, I came to know who you were from the Teenage Dirtbag cover, to the point to where when I hear that, I'm thinking of your lyrics as opposed to the original lyrics. And it's like, okay, that's synonymous now, and that stood out. And I was like, man, this guy's awesome. I found out who you were from that, and then I was like, oh, wait, he's into amateur wrestling. I dig that. He's calling out Robert Whittaker. That's cool. Like, I learned more about you because I first connect with you through this initial clip. It's almost like an investment.
Do you want to know a cool fact about that?
I want to know a lot of cool facts about that.
So I only started amateur wrestling at the age of 27.
That's
right?
bonkers.
So because I said to myself, I was like, right, I mean, compared to the US, I was like, how many people do amateur wrestling in the UK? How many people are heavyweight at the UK? And then I figured out there was only really 5 kind of top talent wrestlers that had to get through in any competition. How many of them are you going to run into? And then, so I thought to myself, actually, I mean, these guys are, don't get me wrong, there's one of the guys training in Scotland here who's 5th in the world, not in my weight class, but we do have great talent. But at that particular time, I saw an opportunity in the weight class and I thought, to hell with it, let's try it. I won a couple of British championships and I went to the Commonwealth Games. I'm really proud of that. But I emailed, I DM'd Chael Sonnen. And I said, Chael, I need your advice, right? I was like, I've qualified for the Commonwealth Games. Robert Whittaker is in my weight class. I know you'll kick my ass, but do I just call him out or what do you say? Yeah, of course. And here's your promo. So Chael actually wrote what I said.
That is fantastic. I love that. I mean, I've talked to Chael quite a few times about the connections to pro wrestling and MMA. Obviously, he's one of them at the forefront of the crossover because he was so heavily inspired. So.
He's my hero, and he's just such a classy human being. We've spoke many times in the past. Actually, kind of gets me emotional thinking about it because he, without going into details, he went through some really tough times, really tough situations a few years ago. And I would kind of DM'd him to ask him something I was actually at the time, I had a t-shirt out that was selling pretty well. And I thought, man, I really want to work with, I have this thing where I just decide I want to work with Kurt Angle. So I make it happen. I decided I want to work with Chael Sonnen. And I was like, he had this Bad Guy Inc. t-shirt brand. And I was like, I want to put out my t-shirt in America through that. So I put out this tweet. And I said, I've never put out a t-shirt in America, but who would buy this if I put it out in America? And it got for the time, it got a lot of likes that I was used to. And I sent it to Chael and I was like, I'd really be interested in releasing this through Bad Guy brand. And all I'd really want in return is, I'm sure he would have offered me a basic royalty or whatever, but all I really want in return is just some advice and a bit of mentorship, basically. And so I got talking to him and his manager. And Chael was awesome, so he started going through those difficult times, and I didn't know this at the time. So I sent him something about that, and even while that was going on, he took the time to go, listen, this is what's happening. I'm going through some stuff, and I thought, man, for when someone is going through all that, to be so polite to take the time to let me know that's why he's not going to be in touch for a while, and my heart just went out to him. And I have few people that I would say are my heroes, but Chael is one of them. And I'd say his advice from his podcasts are the reason that I was able to become British champion in amateur wrestling, because he was basically talking about the higher the weight class you go, the lower the skill level. Yeah. And I realized that is, that is just the truth. You know what I mean?
That is a lot of 40-year-old heavyweights in MMA. Exactly. That are still at the top.
Exactly. So that's why I had my plan of attack. I could have gone down to, 86 kilos easily, but I chose to compete in 97 because I was like, that's where I think if I focus on strength, that I can overcome strength and athleticism at this weight class could overcome experience and technique. And it was based on his advice. So, I don't know if he'll ever hear this, but the guy, he's genuinely one of my heroes and a top quality human being.
He's always really good to deal with. Whenever we were starting Fightful, we were looking at personalities to bring on. Like we brought on Riddle and Shane Helms. He was one of them. And the number he quoted us, we were like, little high. Looking at what he's done on YouTube now, I'm like, oh God, twice that wouldn't have been enough. Like he gets it in, like, even from presentation to professionalism in that sense. Like he also understands controversy too, which is good.
Do you know, I was asked if Ring of Honor could sign anyone, who would it be? And genuinely, I think Chael Sonnen is the greatest wrestler to never, I won't say never lace up a pair of boots, because I know he was in the power plant, but if I think Chael Sonnen could be the world heavyweight champion in any organization, any professional wrestling organization that he chose to. I just think, I don't know this. When I say I know him, like I've spoke to him a few times on DM, right? I don't know the guy, but from hearing him talk about it in interviews, I kind of almost think there's this barrier where he kind of has put wrestling on a pedestal, that he thinks he couldn't do this at the highest level. And I think that he could be the greatest pro wrestler of all time. Yeah. I think that. It's weird. I know it's weird, but if Ring of Honor could sign anyone, we need to get this guy in.
It's funny because, like, I think maybe 12, 13 years ago when he was in WEC, there weren't, like, people saying, oh, he'll move to pro wrestling, because everybody was saying Rampage, King Mo, Tito will, and they all did. It just, you'd never know who's going to hit like that. But when you look at Chael Sonnen, you're like, he would do really, really well. I don't think a lot of people expected Matt Riddle to be a runaway success. If they looked back at UFC, they wouldn't have thought that guy would be a runaway success. There are some people that surprise you, but for Chael Sonnen, it's like we all see that it's there.
Yeah. I actually, when I was in ICW, I asked Dallas if we could try and bring him in. And he couldn't at the time because he was doing Global Force and stuff like that. But just see, when I have it in my head that I want to work with somebody, I just start thinking of all the possibilities. I don't know. I just feel like he's I feel like there's unfinished business with him in pro wrestling.
Yeah, me too. And
because the thing is, he wouldn't need to have like super long matches. Like, why couldn't he just have like, Goldberg length matches and just come in? If you came in as a heel, double leg somebody in a kind of very quote unquote unexciting match, as a heel, comes in, double leg somebody, ground and pound, finish, and just keep going and going and going and going. To me, I think that, when I say unexciting, I just mean like if he's the heel feeding into that wrestler, take them down, beat the hell out of him, move on. I think that would be cool.
And you can tell in Ring of Honor, especially over the last year, with the signing of you, even, like, a lot of the personalities have blown up. Like, you see more personality in Ring of Honor than you did maybe the last, really, since AEW kind of took a lot of it away. I notice it. Like, it's a little more vivid now than it was a couple years back.
It's interesting you say that, because I think I always go through this cycle. When I first start with a company, I almost try too hard to get over. I mean, just come hell or high water, I will find a way. But I almost push it over the edge sometimes, and it almost wanders into the territory of going, please like me, which is never endearing to an audience. But I think one of the issues I had is I was trying to wrestle like the kind of, the traditional Ring of Honor. I was trying to be like Ring of Honor, but in truth, it was actually Finn Balor that told me this. Whenever you're being brought in somewhere, you're not being brought in to be like everyone else in the company. You're being brought in for a specific reason, to do what you do. So when you go somewhere new, do your thing. And now that I've started to steer more into the personality aspect of things are going much better for me. I feel like I'm in my zone. And so really what I'm trying to do in Ring of Honor is, I know I'm never going to have, this is kind of pre-coronavirus, who knows how wrestling will be presented, but you see lots of aerial acrobatic moves and kind of these awesome sequences and stuff like that. And see, as soon the moment I just was like, that's not me, I'm not into that, that's not me. What I'm into is I'm strong and I can sing, and that's what I steer into now. So now with tagging with Dalton, whenever we have our matches, I'll try it whenever I can to do the follow me slam on 2 people at the same time. And I've got louder reactions for that than any time I've ever tried to do like these complex sequences. So that from a wrestling perspective and steering into the songs and the character and stuff like that, I feel like I'm now comfortable and I'm in my zone, you know. But who knows what will happen after the coronavirus? It's all in the air.
One of the things I've specifically wondered about the songs, do your opponents, have they heard this before? Because I've seen a lot of funny reactions to this, and either they're legitimately surprised or they're playing it off really, really well.
I think it's most of the time people don't see it. And what I used to do is, you know, when I was kind of a little lower down the totem pole in the world of wrestling, I would kind of email people beforehand and go, this is what I'm thinking, and da-da-da-da. And actually now I just don't show people because, I mean, I don't ever really say anything that savage or terrible. And it's like, if you can't handle me, because what I actually do is, if you look at, for example, there was one I did, I won't say who it is, but like someone said to me, like, the reason your entrances are so good is because it actually puts over my gimmick as well. And it was like, that's a good point. And I think that's the thing. People who take it the right way see that all it is really doing is reinforcing their character and having a little fun at their expense, you know. And if someone has an issue with that, then, you know, you're probably in the wrong game. That being said, though, I'm gonna have to people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, you know. If when people start doing it back to me and whatnot, I'll have to accept that with a smile on my face, you know.
So ahead of the pandemic, you had started a partnership with Dalton Castle. How was that pitched to you, or did you pitch it? How did it come together? It's two great personalities meeting.
Well, so what had happened was, I think the original, we just talked about this today, actually. But what the original plan was, like I say, we were kind of 2 singles wrestlers. You know, we have this argument. We're kind of we have some tag matches, and then, you know, maybe we split and, you know, have a feud and we do our thing, right? Go on our separate ways. But actually, when we started to, like I say, I was always set on being a singles wrestler. I never really saw myself as a tag wrestler. But then I started to actually start to be like super entertained by what Dalton was doing in the middle of the promos, you know? Like, this is video, right? People see this. So there's one where I don't know if you've ever seen the original Tenacious D series.
Yeah, of course.
So have you ever seen the episode where Jack and Kyle, they've had this gig and they're just sitting on the sofa and they're just like, and they're just laughing. They're just reminiscing. They're not saying anything. They're just laughing. They're like, and it's just like a fist bump or whatever. And I was thinking this would be a funny concept, right? And what I would have done is I would have just done the promo with us both laughing and that be that. But what Dalton said is, he's kind of like, well, you know, I'd need to make you laugh somehow. So I'll need to do something to make you laugh. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm wondering, what is this going to be? You know? And so we're in the middle of the promo, we're talking, and it's just before the laughing bit. And he just does this. He goes, hey, Joe. And I'm like, what? And he goes, that was it. That was it. But for some reason, to me, like, it was just so understated. It was like, I don't know why. I couldn't stop laughing.
Like, that's what he picked to make you laugh. And that was almost funny to begin with.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just kept laughing, and we were supposed to say other things, but the promo just cut because I was just laughing nonstop. And it's one of my favorite things that we've ever done. So it's, like I say, it's been a blast. It's been super enjoyable.
Who contacted you to bring you into Ring of Honor?
I think so. Now, I'd been working for Ring of Honor, like on tours here and there, but I don't actually think Ring of Honor knew that I was a free agent. And I realized that was part of my problem, because without going into too many details, I think it suits companies sometimes to have people think that you're maybe under contract, right? Yes. So, and that's happened a couple of times. I'm not singling anyone out there. There's, multiple people were referring to that.
Will that answer my question of what happened with Impact?
Half of it.
Okay.
Okay. That's why I made this YouTube show called Free Agent. I was like, I need to tell people that I'm a free agent. People need to know. Yeah. And so I did that show, and I just I thought, you know what? I had a couple. I had a couple options, and I thought I need to just see what the lay of the land is here. And I was on a conversation with my friend, who's a he edits Wrestle Talk magazine. Speaking to him, and he's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, what would be the ideal situation for you? Where would you want to go, right? Where would you want to go? And I was like, well, I'd want to go to Ring of Honor. And he's like, right, okay. And so we got chatting about it, and then I thought, you know what? And I just kind of again reached out to some old contacts, and I says, look, something's come up, and I'm gonna be taking a deal just now. But if you want to have a conversation before that happens, I'd really, I'd love to chat. And so Greg, who's the general manager, he was like, yeah, let's talk. And I'm not joking. We got our deal done in 5 minutes. I didn't even need to speak to the other companies. I was just, and the thing is, I think part of the thing was I didn't really want to be tempted by anything else at that point. My heart was telling me that Ring of Honor was the place to go. And so me and Greg talked, and this is the thing I loved about this doing business with Greg and this chat was, to me, it's like when someone gives your word, and that to me that's everything, right? And me and Greg talked for between 2 and 5 minutes, and said, all right, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Blah blah blah. Could we make this work? Let's do it. Virtual handshake over the phone, done deal. And the contract didn't come into effect till a couple of months later, but that was enough for both of us. Just word, there you go, done. So I've got real respect to Greg for the way that we got things done. It just felt easy, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
We're seeing the international presence really step up in Ring of Honor between all the, like, Session Moth Martina is there.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a great addition. And like I mentioned, a great character addition too.
Yeah.
Like, it really, because that used to be the rap, like, and probably unjustifiably so. People were like, oh, there are no characters there. There's tons of characters there right now. They're all over the place right now. And they're really stepping it up in that regard. We also saw.
I think
go ahead.
If you look, sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, if you look at someone like Josh Woods, for example, again, always been fantastic technically, but when he's been given, when he's kind of shown his personality, it's again taking him to another level. But yeah, no, Martina's a huge sign-in for Ring of Honor. Huge personality, and she can go as well. I think she is one of the best at building her brand. Like, she is her brand. You know what I mean? And I actually like there's a lot of people in Ring of Honor that conduct themselves that way, and it's cool to have high performers around you who are over. It's pressure, but in a good way. It's like, well, I better make sure I'm doing my thing as well. So I actually get inspired by my colleagues who are super over online, and it shows, and that drives me forward. So we've got a great group, and it's great people as well. It's really good people. Like, I didn't know, like, so for example, like I didn't like, I knew them, but I didn't know like Martina or Slex or like Gresham or Mark Haskins, like, or Josh, and the thing is, and Ian, like, I don't want to leave anybody out because everybody is awesome. Like, but it's just like, I've always been in wrestling. I've always been looking over my shoulder because, to be honest, coming up in Scottish wrestling, like, it wasn't easy. Everybody hated me when I started. I was always had my back against the wall. And I've been in a company where everybody's like cool to me, and I'm not used to it. It's weird.
Yeah, it's funny you had mentioned Josh Woods as well. When I talked to Silas Young, he was like, it would have been really easy for us to make the MMA guy be like a surly dude just like me when we paired up. But everybody saw his personality, and they're like, no, that's got to shine through.
Yeah.
And it'd be hard for it not to.
Well, it's like the Kurt Angle thing, isn't it? It's like, it would have just been so easy to make him the badass,
And at times it worked, but the fact that he was able to be so versatile, gosh, it led to so much career longevity at the top that it worked out so well.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt is for sure on my Mount Rushmore. For sure. To me, he could do any role at the absolute highest level.
We also saw Marty Scurll extend his deal, take a new role. What were your thoughts when that all unfolded?
I think that Marty knows how to get over. He has his finger on the pulse of professional wrestling. So I think to have someone like that in management who it's almost like, I feel like he can almost, I don't want to say the word translate, but almost like he knows better than anybody about what it takes to get over in today's wrestling environment. So to have him in that position and have that understanding of not just like the Ring of Honor fan base, because I think sometimes like it's like if all the product that you consume is Ring of Honor and Ring of Honor and Ring of Honor, you might miss like what's going on in this company, what's going on in that company. Whereas Marty's kind of been all over the world. He's been everywhere, again, at the highest level. So I think he really is in touch with what the modern professional wrestling fan is looking for. And to just add that flavor into management, who are so on the ball with production and quality cards and shows and story building, it just, it feels like just another kind of essential ingredient that is just going to help the product. And again, you see Marty's influence, like hiring people like Slex, for example, from Australia, because he's been all over the world. He's got his finger on the pulse when it comes to, like you say, international talent, So I think the sad thing for Marty is that he won't have had much of a chance to show the work that he had planned for the future. And I feel for him in that regard, because now wrestling has changed so much because of coronavirus. It didn't give him the chance to execute his vision the way we would have wanted to in that time. But then again, there's, in tough situations, people have a chance to innovate and adapt. And this could be a chance for him to show a completely different skill set and a different way of presenting wrestling. So look, the guy knows how to get over. And that's what great wrestlers do. They can get over in any circumstance. So it's great to have someone like him in management for sure.
As we wrap up, a common question that we got was, what happened with Impact Wrestling? We saw you go in there, but it was short-lived. Well, what led to that departure?
It's really weird, like when this perception is, the thing with Impact taught me a lot about perception. And the reason is because I was probably only there 4 times because I didn't have a visa, It's as simple as that. Like, unless I got a visa, nothing was going to happen, So it's like, to me, I just saw it as, it was 4 shows where I went out and had fun on the shows, had fun, this is back when I drank, I had fun drinking with Grado and Abyss. I have a lot of great memories from Impact Wrestling, but people perception-wise saw it as like a failure. You know what I mean? Now, like I say, it's one of these things that it just taught me a lot about what career moves to make and things like that, because really I didn't know that people would see that as a failure if I only did a few shows there. I mean, in my mind, it's like seemed like a good opportunity at the time, so why not do it, but then again, I wasn't under contract, I didn't have a visa, so unless it was kind of going somewhere, it was only ever going to be short-lived, So like I say, I don't usually like going into the business aspect of it too much, but I think that I was made an offer for that to be in place, but I think that I think what I really respected was I had they were one of the companies that I was speaking to, but I felt it just wasn't the right deal for me. I just felt like I was worth more and I felt I could contribute more. And, credit to Scott, he didn't doubt my talent for a second. He was like, I have no doubt you'll be successful, but we just can't do any more than that right now. And I respected that. But like, I think to me, I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder to go, no, I can contribute at a higher level than that, and it's not about, the money. I just knew if I went in, I wouldn't be a fixture with that deal. I wouldn't be, in the main event scene anytime soon. And I felt like I could do more. And I feel like Ring of Honor got what I was about. And the fact I was paired with Dalton, who just had the world title as soon as I came in, that to me was like, okay, I feel like I've made the right decision. But, I don't want to give off this impression that there's like any beef between me and Impact. I had a great time. It was great fun. And I learned a lot about my career. And like I say, visas are a pain in the ass, so I know it's difficult, but people think it was like this kind of failed falling out or whatever. It wasn't the right deal for me. It wasn't the right deal for Impact at the time. It just wasn't to be. And I wish them all the best and they wish me all the best, so there's absolutely no hard feelings at all. I wish them the best. It's just I am where I'm supposed to be.
So you're sure you don't want to bury anybody? You're sure? Just in case. I mean, I feel like it's the responsible thing to do, just to ask. Not we would run with that as a headline or anything. I would never do that.
You have to bury somebody. I'll tell you what. I'll bury somebody for you.
Ooh.
So we're in Mexico. It's not buddy. It's just a funny story. So we're in Mexico, and this is my last match, right? And so they're just, I'm facing Murder Clown, and so the finish is me going through a table via a splash from Murder Clown, right? And I remember going to the ring and seeing this table and thinking, that table's thick, you know? And I'm just thinking like, oh man. So I was stressed, but you know, in fairness, you know, Abyss is calming me down. Abyss is the greatest guy ever, nicest guy ever. He's calming me down, and I'm like, oh man, I don't have a good feeling about this, man. I don't have a good feeling. And so Grado's at ringside with me, and I'm just, my life is flashing before my eyes. Yeah. I know this is like I say, that all the shows after this were American. I had a feeling. I was like, I think this is probably going to be my last show. And I was like, is this how it ends? Is this how my life ends by getting, you know, squashed to this table? And so what? Yeah. So what happened was he climbs up to the top rope, and Grado's on the outside, and I'm just like, you know, when a second just seems like an hour.
Yeah.
And he goes to jump off, and he just fell forward. Like he just fell like on his face. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm pretty sure as long as nothing happens, I can get through this without laughing. Right. And Grado's at the side of the ring, and he just points at him and goes, ha, ha, ha. So I, of course, break, and I'm laughing on this table and his TV. So he just has to get back up on the turnbuckle and then put me through the table, you know. But it was that was a fun memory, you know. And thankfully, in fairness to Murder Clown, I went through the table, you know, no problem, no injuries, felt great. So you know, in fairness to Murder Clown, but that was, I would pay good money for that footage because it was just
fantastic.
Yeah.
Like I think like Impact these days are the kind of company that would release like a blooper reel or something. They
should release that one because it was so fun. Honestly, it was so funny. It was so
Reminder, guys, you all can follow Joe at Joe Hendry on YouTube, at Lost in Audio. He is all over ROH's YouTube these days, and of course Honor Club from Ring of Honor.